Welcome to FlatsClass. Today we will be diving into tips and techniques that will elevate your spinning rod game. In the next few minutes, I will reveal 5 pro casting styles that will transform your fishing experience. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned angler, these pro tips will help you cast farther, more accurately, and with confidence. So grab your favorite spinning rod and let's get started on the path to becoming a casting expert. All right, before we jump right into the actual cast that I think is going to make a huge difference in elevating your spinning rod game, let's talk a few basics just to catch everyone up. The first one we're going to talk about is this one, and that's grip. Watch this. I like to grip the horn of the reel between my ring finger and my pinky. There are times where I'll have it further back if it's a heavier reel, but on these lighter reels I like to be up there because I like to feather the line with that index finger. So you can see where I'm positioned here getting ready to cast, and when I want to make a nice straight cast, it's a quick motion and I follow it and I feather it, close the bail by hand. See how there's no slack line in here? None. Okay, basic number 2, that's going to be start position. Where does your spool need to be when you start? Find out right now. Always try to line up your roller bearing where your line is closest to your blank. You see how that distance is right there? That's where it wants to be every time. That way you won't slam the bail shut. All right, lastly, there are 3 rules of line twist. If you take care of these 3 things, line twist is 99% eliminated. Check it out. Always close that bail by hand. You'll thank me later. You'll eliminate most of your wind knots just with that. Properly filling your spool is another way to eliminate wind knots, and feathering the line as it comes off the spool. Those 3 things. Precision casting, that's what's next. And that all starts with understanding how to feather and picking the right length rod. Well, check this out. Cast so precisely with a 7-footer. Put it in all these little spots. Almost like throwing a casting rod. Just trying to get it in all these little corners. Just seems like the water would be warmer. See how close you can get it to the tight to the bank? A lot easier to do with a 7-foot medium fast. The sidearm cast. By far my favorite. I love to sight fish. This cast was designed for those that love to sight cast. If you think of it as a shooter, okay? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And you see the fish tracking. And you see the spot where you need to cast ahead of them. Take your time and gently make that slide cast, that little sidearm slide cast. Don't overcast. Well, you're going to see in this video clip here, because it's also going to teach you how to cheat the wind, because this cast is going to allow you to throw underneath the wind as well. Check this out. Can you make a sidearm cast with a spinning rod? Yes. Again, anywhere from 16 to 18 inches out. You see it? You see a fish traveling the shoreline. You don't want the wind to affect it. You can make a sidearm cast, but you have to release at a point where it will travel straight and not come across your body. You don't want to drag the rod tip across your body. That's how you want to cast. You want to stop, point right at the fish and drop it. That's the most effective cast when I'm sight fishing, because I'm not showing the fish my rod from an over-the-top cast. Over-the-top casts lots of times create a motion where the fish can sense you're there. I'll crouch a little bit, I'll see a fish traveling, and I'll just feather it. See how I always feather it? Feather it every time. You can drop it perfectly on the fish. That's a key factor. If you're going to cast and cast well with a spinning rod, that's what you want to do. Make sure you see your target. You look with your eyes forward of the target so that you can throw to a spot. And always feather and catch the line, close it by hand, and you're right there. So, distance casting. What does that exactly mean? Well, to me, that is the first part of the equation of power fishing. So when you're spoon fishing, when you're throwing swim baits, when you're throwing top water, even if you're throwing a mirroring twitch bait fishing, you're just trying to cover as much water as possible, that's the time to do it, is with that distance cast. Yet, you still want to have control over your cast, manage your line, hit the target zones that you're throwing to, potholes, oyster bars, points, deep into the pocket. You want to have a lot of control. I'm going to show you right now how you're going to do that. Watch this. All right, we're going to talk about a distance cast. You're going to leave yourself probably about 18-20 inches out of the tip top of the rod. I don't like it to be any longer than that. Having a lot of line behind you and having to throw it as hard as you can never accomplishes anything. You're going to have the roller bearing positioned right here so the line is closest to the blank. You're going to come in here, you're going to take a little bit of that, you're going to click it over. You're going to put your other hand here and you're going to make a long, sharp, hard cast, but you're going to be under control the whole time. So here we go. Easily 130, 140 feet, easily. And that's with just a 1/4 ounce jig. And it was a nice, straight, clean cast over the top, perfect. The backhanded cast is a cast that's a lot harder to master. You're gonna have to do some reps with this one. The longer rods, it's much tougher. It's a lot easier with a shorter rod that has less weight associated with it. I use this cast a lot to keep the lure out of the boat. I'm a right-handed angler. If I'm moving this direction and the shoreline's on my right-hand side, if I cast back here, I've got to bring the lure over the boat. By doing that, I've got to pay attention. Is anyone behind me? Is there equipment behind me? Rod standing up, electronics, grab bar, bimini top, whatever. They're going to affect how I can cast, and it's going to cost me accuracy. If you learn how to throw that backhanded cast, it's a lower trajectory cast. It'll allow you to throw, under overhanging trees, maybe even back skip a little bit up underneath a higher dock. But that cast is a valuable cast to have. Now, it's typically a better cast for about mid to long range distance, depending on the weight of the lure that you have. But check this video out, because I think this is going to be one of those casts that if you can master it, you're going to be a lot happier, because that lure is going to be out over the water in front of your boat instead of across your boat where something bad could happen. Check this out. I'll be right back. And I'll show you something that I like to do from time to time when I'm casting on shorelines that are to my right side. You'll see me do this quite often. I'll be up here and I'll be taking a shoreline out of it. All right, our next special cast, pro cast, would be the pendulum cast or the pitch cast. This comes in super, super handy if you're fishing around docks where you're trying to pitch it in between a dock and a boat that's moored up. If you're trying to fish a narrow creek where there's not a lot of places for you to cast, there might be an overhang, or it's just so narrow, trying to make a dart cast with the line drift one way or the other, you can still pendulum or pitch cast And once you get enough reps, honestly, you can do it 30, 40, 50 feet away. You can get a pretty good cast that way. It just takes a little bit of practice, especially when you get caught off guard and all of a sudden you look down and there's a redfish and you're like, oh, but you got a 7-foot rod in your hand now. You can't make a cast way out there and hope that you can negotiate it all the way back. He's only 15, 20 feet away, but if you pendulum cast, you can catch him. Check this out. All right, another cast you need to master is going to be holding the line or the jig just above the reel, and you're going to make that little pendulum cast. Those little pendulum casts work so nice, especially when you're in close quarters with fish. Just always position your bait just above your reel, hold it in your hand, hook away from you. You see a fish, and then you can reel it right in front of them. Every time. It works out beautifully. It's one of my favorite casts, especially when I'm fishing in between docks, is just to slide it out and then you can reel it right in front of them. That's how you make a tight quarters cast with a spinning rod. Now, all right, cast number 5, the last one. This is the skip cast. You knew it was coming. And this is the one cast that will give you the greatest advantage over all the anglers out there that are just dealing with average skills. Because now you're going to be able to reach the fish that they never can. That means you'll be able to reach the fish under docks. You'll be able to reach the fish under mangrove shorelines. You're going to be able to present to fish that always feel relaxed because they're in an overhead environment. And that is a gigantic advantage. Check this out and get you back here in a second. You might be trying to slide it up underneath a dock or a mangrove. You got to make a circular motion, and you see how I follow it up with my rod? That continues to let it slide. That's the biggest thing about skipping. You start to skip just outside the zone you want to do it, make a round move, but you keep that rod tip going up, and that'll allow it to get back under there. But you can skip the right baits a very long way with a spinning rod. To me, it's a necessary skill to have if you're going to catch fish consistently. Is that little, get it right back up in there. Those fish, it drives them crazy. If they can see it skipping over the surface and it falls down underneath the dock, you'll catch your share of big ones. It's one of my favorite ways of catching fish. Skipping mangroves, skipping docks. And I'm gonna say it again, it's a skill worth learning. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you can master these 5 casts, I guarantee you your confidence level is gonna go through the roof with a spinning rod. And, well, your catch ratio right with it. If you enjoyed what you saw today and learned, please thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and join me sometime at FlatsClassUniversity.com, where I can make you a better inshore fisherman.